So we're talking about taking action, because in order to achieve anything, you got to take action. We always talk about, right? Think big, start now, and that means take action. Now, where are you getting bogged down at? Where is the problem lie? Well, because of all this, self-improvement crap that you're reading out there. The number one, reading endless amounts of books is not taking freaking action. It is just sitting there, and it's like you're just entertaining yourself. You're just in a delusion of that you're achieving something. Now, I am not talking about go out there and gain knowledge about a specific investment, about how to do real estate. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about, read something about how to figure out what the NOI is, understanding how to read a profit and loss sheet. No, we're not talking about education. We're talking about all this self-improvement. It's ridiculous. It's not getting you anywhere. It's just, you just keep thinking that you're achieving something. You keep thinking that something's happening for you, and not a damn thing is happening. And then you say to yourself later on, oh, this shit don't work. Well, that's because this shit don't work. You're not wrong. I don't read books on just pure motivation. That's ridiculous. I read books that have to do with the subject I'm interested in. So if it's about real estate, then it's going to be, how do I buy my first rental property? It's going to be, how do I buy my second one, the next one? If it's apartment buildings, then what do I look for, and what do I need to know in order to buy apartment buildings? And then how do I syndicate apartment buildings? Hell, you may not even know what the hell that means. You should, right? Because that's how you achieve action, high performance. It's about learning with a specific goal in mind. And when you're talking about goals, that which is not measured is bullshit. Because if you're not measuring your performance, if you're not measuring your accomplishments, if you're not keeping that as a part of what you do, and it is a vital part. Why is it a vital part? Because otherwise, you might as well just go watch Netflix and get yourself a girl and chill. Because otherwise, you're doing nothing other than that. And yes, we're pounding this today because I don't really care if you like me. I don't care if you ever listen to this channel again. Right? Yeah, I want you to subscribe to it. I want you to, but on an individual basis, right? Right? The old thing is you need people to watch you, but I don't need you. Because do you think Bill Gates needs you? Do you think Elon Musk needs you? Did you think that when Steve Jobs was around, he needed you? People who perform, they perform at a high level. They don't need you. But you need you. So get a freaking grip and start to understand why you need to do certain things in your life in order to achieve and accomplish the goals you want. Now, if you want to live in freaking mediocrity, go ahead. What do you think the why? Middle class. They don't forget calling it middle class. It's mediocrity class. That's what it is. It's freaking mediocrity class. And it's just like, like all these kids going to college, right? And they go to one university after another university, and you're one of them. You bought into this shit where you just, if I go to the junior college and I go to this college and I get my degree, that's worth crap. It's worth nothing in order to become wealthy. It's worth nothing in order to get rich on your way to wealthy. Right? Now, you want to live in mediocrity? Go get yourself a degree and figure that degree is then going to make it all good for you. Listen, I sit there and I do 3-hour lectures, okay, in retirement classes. And I sit there with your parents, okay, in their 50s, in their late 50s, in their early 60s. These people are lost. And you've learned what you know about money from them? You might as well go stick your head in a bucket of water because they know shit about making money. They understand about how to go to work. They understand about how to go get a job. They understand about how to get an education to get that job so they can go to work. And then they don't know a damn thing after that. And I'm sorry to tell you this, but as you become older and you realize your parents are not perfect, they may not be perfect in life, but they know shit about making money. And if you're listening to them, You're going to go down the drain and you're going to live the same kind of boring ass life they're living. Now, if you love the way they live, go for it. You love mediocrity, go for it. Now, if you say to me, Vic, am I talking about Oxford? Am I talking about Yale? Am I talking about Princeton? Am I talking about Harvard? No, I'm not talking about these schools. You get into those schools, you come out with the kind of degrees you need, it can launch you into the right direction. I'm talking about all the other bullshit. They're all out there right now. And then what are they doing right now? They're all out there protesting, okay, against Israel. Is that what you want to go do? Stand there and hold a sign that says, hey, I hate Israel? That's bullshit. That's not about you want to change the world? Get rich. You want to change the world? Get wealthy. Because you just stand there holding a freaking sign is not going to do a damn thing. That's really the bottom line. So where do you want to, what level do you want to achieve at? Again, if you just want to buy that house and hold that mortgage for 30 years, you want to be in debt most of your life, you want to go to work for the next 40 years, then you just keep doing what your parents told you to do. Because I can tell you, you're going to be a good boy. You're going to be a good girl. They're going to say, oh, I love you. Yeah, because they don't know any better. And they do love you, but they don't know anything to teach you about how to get wealthy, because I sit in front of them and I do these classes at these universities. And once again, I'm telling you, they know nothing except how to put money in a 401k. And even when they put the money in a 401k, they don't know what to do with it in the 401k. They don't even know how to invest it inside the 401k. They just have no freaking concept. Now, I don't know if they're just too busy, with work, because work keeps them busy. They were busy with you, okay, your brothers, your sisters, whatever the hell it is, their parents. I don't give a shit. It don't matter, because what do you want out of life? If you want to achieve something more than freaking mediocrity, you want something more than middle class, then you better figure it out, because the bullshit you've been doing up to this point, it's not working. It's not happening. You can go to your job all day long, and the best that's going to come out, I can tell you this, after 40 years, adjusted for inflation, we'll just throw that in there, and 40 years from now, 30 years from now, you're going to have the same kind of money that most people have in their 401ks. First of all, 50% of the people don't have shit. They go to work every day and they got nothing. The other 50% of the people have somewhere between $100,000 and, let's say at the far end, $1 million. So let's just apply the Pareto principle, the 80-20. So 20% of the people then, of that other half, they've got $1 million, or between 700 and $1 million. And the rest of the people, it drops like a rock. $200,000-$300,000. How in the hell are you going to retire? How are you going to gain your financial freedom in order to put in the full 40 and then, quote unquote, retire on $200,000 or $300,000? Do the math. At a 5% return, if you take out 5%, if you don't want to eat your principal and you only take out 5%, that means that you're going to, on $300,000, you're going to get $15,000 a year to live on, because you don't have a damn pension anymore. They don't exist. So it's that and Social Security. And they're already telling people that by 2034 that they're looking to cut Social Security by as much as 25%. You guys are up the freaking creek without a paddle. Unless you start making some changes and you get your ass in gear and you start to do something the right way. And that is, let's get off of this endless diatribe of motivation. Get motivated. Whatever it takes you to get motivated. Build your self-esteem. As we know, your self-esteem is pretty much set by the time you're 7 years old. So if you can identify the fact that your self-esteem is all screwed up, then you better start to figure out how to fix that. There's a guy that I just listened to for a couple of seconds on a YouTube short. He said, when you look in the mirror, tell yourself 10 times that you love yourself. And he says, then if you're right-handed, brush your teeth with your left hand. I guess it just throws your mind off a little bit. It sits you in a different place. I think he follows it up by saying, take 25 deep breaths so that you can get out of whatever the freaking mood is you are when you get out of bed. Maybe that oxygen will help you freaking think a little better. Try it. Maybe it'll help. But quit reading all this crap about, all this motivational shit. Get motivated. What are you waiting for? Take action. It is action, action, action. That is what will do you the best. Now, you might say to me, Vic, yeah, but you're telling me don't buy a house right now, or don't be careful. First of all, I'm not telling you don't buy rental properties. If there's a good deal, if you want to search out and try to find something that's down 30 or 40%, buy the damn thing. But understand where the market is. Understand what part of the cycle you're in, and then apply principles to that part of the cycle. And if the basic principles say this is not a good time to buy property for the short term because of the high interest rates and the high prices, so then you're going to get high interest rate and high price, well, good luck with trying to make a buck. Now, I get it. There's guys out there all day long telling you that you can do it, you can do it. That's bullshit. You can't do it sometimes. Sometimes you either have to go find that deal that's down 30, 40% so that you can get some cash flow, like we talked about, or switch gears and start looking for something else. I keep telling you guys, okay, there are trillions of dollars worth of successful small businesses for sale right now in America. We're buying one right now where the husband and wife are getting divorced. Death, divorce, old age. These are reasons why people sell their businesses if they don't have kids that are willing to take them over as part of a legacy. There was one property we went to buy, one business. It was a fast food type lunch restaurant. It wasn't one of the big name brands, but it was, did very, very well, does very well. Talked to the guy. I looked at him. I walked in there. I could see the owner's 65 years old, okay, or so. So what do I say? Hey, have you ever thought about selling your place? He said, yeah, I just started thinking about it yesterday, in fact. He gave me his number. I went back in there recently, and I see there's a new face at the counter. It's his daughter. Well, we shook something loose. He sits there and he says, well, Vic, my daughter said she's ready to step in now. Fabulous. No problem. You got it set. We're on to the next one. In this world of business, it is the word you want to understand. It's not success. It's next. N-E-X-T, next. Because you achieve success by getting to the next one. Whether it goes through as a transaction or you just push it out of the way, I don't have to think about it. In about a year, I'll go back and talk to the guy again. Why? Because his daughter might think, well, I wanted to do this, but this is bullshit. Because they run it old school, okay? Where they're literally at the freaking counter, taking money, taking orders. And this is the guy built this business, successful at this business, but he's still at the counter every day taking orders. Is that bullshit or what? That's not a business. It's a freaking job. You might as well work 40 somewhere else. At least you'll get the benefits. But you got to start somewhere. So you start with your first one. Whether it's a restaurant, whether you're taking over, I don't give a shit what it is. Just make sure that you can scale it. That's one of the principles. When you take action, make sure you're taking the right action in the right direction. You're finding the right vehicle, a vehicle that you can scale. That's not just based upon you being there. That's just a job. But if you can scale it, if you can buy one and then two and then three of these things, and now you're putting management team into place where they're going there and they're doing the work. Now, I'm not saying that maybe if you buy a breakfast restaurant to start with, that you're not flipping some pancakes in the beginning. Not me, but maybe you want to do that so you have an understanding. Not a problem. But don't make it your job. So I'm just saying. So when people say to me, oh, Vic, you say, don't read books about this or what? No, don't read books about motivation. If you're going to get in the restaurant business, understand what the metrics are. Understand how to read a P&L statement when it comes to the restaurant. If it's anything else, if it's a plumbing business, understand how to read a P&L in a plumbing business. Now, right off the bat, I can tell you that whenever you buy a small business from a single owner, okay, one owner business, right? The current owner is just one person. Chances are there's money that's not all being shown on top of the P&L statement. There's not money always being shown in the tax returns. Go figure. They put in a lot of their own personal expenses. They take out their own salaries, larger amounts. All of a sudden, there's 3 cars that are being paid for by the business. You've got to understand how to add those things back in. Yeah, there's technical. I get it. What does Robert Kiyosaki tell you? He says the 2 things you ought to be able to learn how to understand and be able to read is a P&L statement and a balance sheet. Because if you can't read those, then you're not ever going to be able to be a good business person. You're never going to be able to roll up other practices of whatever it is. Insurance companies, plumbing firms, plumbing companies, electrical companies, whatever it is, automotive, whatever you like. No one's saying don't get into something that, you have an interest in, but don't be in there cranking the wrenches down. That's bullshit. That's ridiculous. Now you just bought yourself a job. If you can learn how to read a P&L statement, if you can learn how to read a balance sheet, and go online, they'll teach you. You can just go right to YouTube right now and put in there how to read a P&L statement for auto mechanic. And I will tell you that it will come back and it'll have somebody on there explaining how a P&L statement works for an auto business. Same thing with a plumbing business, same thing with a financial practice, whatever it is. But don't get stuck in just buying one. You've got to take action. But why do people don't take action? What's the reason? Well, show me your closest friends, the 5 people you hang out with, and I'll show you your future. I'm sure you've heard that. I'm not the first one to say it. Most people should get rid of all their friends right now. That's right. Get rid of them. Stop talking to them. Take their phone number out of your phone and don't ever answer their phone call again. And I don't give a shit if these kids you've known since kindergarten. Unless the only caveat I will tell you about that, unless they are a raging success. Then get rid of everybody else's phone number and just be dealing with that person. You got to deal with people that have a similar like mind to yours. If your mind is about getting rich and then getting wealthy, then you got to deal with people that are wanting to get rich and get wealthy. Everything else is unacceptable. It's unacceptable. Again, I keep harping on this in some ways. Here it is, the football season. All right. If you could tell me the players on the team in your city, if you could tell me what those players are and you know some of their stats and you could tell me every game, then you know what? Congratulations. You're a chump. Don't be a chump. You're not making any money from that football team unless you're betting on in the betting things. Whatever. Good luck with that shit. DraftKings, you're better if you're betting. But if you're just doing it for pure, it's not entertainment at that point. What it becomes is an escape from your life. Have you figured that out yet? And if you're escaping from your life into sports, well, then you are just part of the matrix because it's designed for that to happen. You think that it's not? They not only designed it for it to happen. You see, in the Roman times, you could walk in. They didn't charge you to go see the gladiators. It was to pacify you. It was the beginning of the matrix. Now they charge you to go. They charge you to get the channels, all sports, all football, all bullshit. How about all business? How about all rich? How about all wealthy? You don't see that because that's not exciting to most people. You know why? Because most people don't have anywhere even the inclination that you have. And that is the reason you're still watching this podcast is because you're interested in at least getting rich, if not getting wealthy. And that's the bottom line. So you got to change some stuff. You got to fire your friends. You got to lay back on listening to what you're here Thanksgiving, when Thanksgiving rolls around and you all get together. God forbid you talk about the fact you might be thinking about buying a business. You know what they're going to tell you? Oh, man, that's pretty scary shit. Why do you want to do that? What do you do? Quit your job? What happens if something happens? What this? What that? Blah, 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 blah. It's bullshit. Utter complete bullshit. So when you're at your family meeting there, having dinner, having Thanksgiving or Christmas or Hanukkah, keep your thoughts to yourself. You only want to be sharing what your ideas are, what your hopes and dreams are with people that understand it because they're also on the path of trying to achieve it. Does that make sense to you? Because otherwise, they're going to knock that shit down. And when you walk in that front door of your folks' house, I don't care if you're 35 years old, when you walk through that door, most people walk through at 15, 16 years old. And they go sit down, and that whole dynamic of the family, who's the boss of the siblings, blah, 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 and whatever you got to say most likely will mean nothing. It'll be fully discounted. It'll be laughed at. Who do you think you are that you're going to become rich and wealthy? Okay? I mean, it's freaking biblical. It says a prophet gets no respect in his own home. That's really bottom line. So when you go to these family functions, then you got to keep that shit to yourself. That's just bottom line. But you better write it down. You better look at it. You better understand it. You better put a plan around how you want to achieve. You got to take your dreams and you got to take them and turn them into goals, actionable items, things that you can do. And then because those goals then become those items of action. So the dreams turn into goals, turn into then what is the activity? And then take the freaking action. Think big. Do it now. If you don't do it now, then it is just nothing. You might as well be laying in the grass and looking at the clouds and thinking about how nice it would be to be a bird flying in the air. Because otherwise, that's all it means. It means nothing. Am I getting through to you? Because someone has to get through to you. Because you've been put into the matrix, the education, the parent matrix, the education matrix. You've been put through all this. You have absolutely no real understanding about how to live different. You see, my family always was against the matrix, even before there was a name put to it. My grandfather, self-employed all his life, most all his life, owned real estate. See, the thing about real estate is that, number one, 90% of all millionaires become millionaires through real estate. But it also creates an independent thought. Why? Because in order to be successful in real estate, you cannot think like everybody else. I sit in a class, and I sit there and I teach this class, and I ask these 55-year-old people, have you ever really understood depreciation? And they say no. Have you ever thought maybe it'd be nice to own a rental? Some raise their hand. Do you understand what cash-on-cash return is? I sit there, I show them, I put on the board what owning a single-family home, what that'll do for them financially, using leverage, getting the rent, the cash flow from the rent to put in your pocket, the depreciation that will offset the income from the rent so you don't have to pay the taxes on the profit of the rent, the appreciation of the property due to natural inflation, whether it's at 10% or 3%, it doesn't matter. It keeps going up. How to force the appreciation, which then will increase the value of the building and also increase the rents, will then also give you more money in your pocket, more tax-free money. How to do cost segregation so that you can increase the depreciation schedule so you can put what? More money in your pocket, more money tax-free. How the tenants, when they're paying the mortgage, they're also buying down the loan in a sense. They're lowering the value, the loan principal. So then every month, more of that house has got more equity, not just from the appreciation, not just from fixing it up, but also because the loan is less every month. Now, with some of the people in the class, light bulbs do go off. At least the light bulb went off. Whether they're willing to take the action, most likely not. Why? Because they're 55 years old, so they think they're next to death. Because they've been working for 30 years, okay, or more. All right? Now, I really tell people about this stuff in class about real estate, so maybe they want to share it with their kids. I even have to tell them, why don't you go buy your first house? See if one of your kids is interested in doing it with you or a family member. And because I have to give them a path that maybe in some world, in some plane, they'll understand that maybe they can get involved in this. They can do something that they never knew they could do. I'll even sit there with an associate of mine who 2 years ago bought a property, a duplex, paid $200,000 for it. He forced the appreciation on the other unit. He raised the unit price from the rent price from $800 to $1,600. He has had it rented nonstop for 2 years. He doesn't have a mortgage payment. He bought it with 3.5% down, He can move out of the other unit anytime he wants, and when he's looking for another place, he's waiting for the right time to buy? How would you like one of your kids to be 36 years old and not have a mortgage payment anymore? And yes, there's a check being written, but the tenant is paying it. Even on the most basic level, you can change the direction of your life financially just by getting a duplex and renting out the other half and getting that rent to a point where it can pay the mortgage. You don't think that'll change their life? You don't think that'll change your life? And then you watch a channel like this, we'll just tell you how to freaking do it. But you gotta take action. All the talk don't mean shit if you don't take the action. Otherwise, you're just like that freaking Geico commercial where when you buy a house, you turn into your parents. Is that what you want? And you think that commercial wasn't, yes, it's ironic, but it's also true. More or less, you just become more impressed with cutting the grass because you think it's your grass. Right? How about have somebody else cut your grass because you own a dozen apartment buildings, because you own a dozen single-family rentals, and now somebody else is cutting your grass so you can spend your time with your kids. Don't get caught up in the matrix. Do you get it? So we're going to talk more about this in the next video. I'm not done talking about this. There's so much more to unpack here because so many people have been caught up in the self-help community. Everybody should be skinny, right? Is there not more shit on the internet than ever before about how to get muscles, how to drop weight? But go look around. People in this country are fatter than ever. So just having information doesn't do you any freaking good if you're not willing to take action. We've become a country that it feels so freaking entitled because you haven't really had a lot of pain. Yeah, you might have saw your parents during the Great Recession. You might have seen them have some difficulties, more or less, but you still ate. You still went to school. You still got the clothes you wanted because they treat you so freaking entitled. But then as an adult, you're sitting there saying to yourself, is this all there is? Metaphorically, and I say this metaphorically, you might as well put a bullet in your head. Now, don't go get a gun and put a bullet in your head. But the bottom line is, if you've got this idea that you want something more out of life, you'd like to be able to do something, then start to apply some principles of high performance. I say this all the time. Go watch the show Drive to Survive on Netflix. You want to watch Netflix? Drive to Survive. There's 3 or 4 seasons about how Formula One drivers work and about how those teams work. You want to see high performance, no excuses, taking complete accountability? It's right there. And then go see if you want to live if you can possibly live your life on some level of that high performance. Remember, getting wealthy, getting rich is not for everybody. Yeah, they try to show it there on the internet that everybody can get rich. Bullshit. You got to have the right mindset to begin with. You got to have guts. You got to be able to control your fear. You got to be willing to take risk. You got to be willing to commit, persevere. These are the things you need in order to become wealthy. But when that happens, and those checks just start rolling in, and all that stuff is happening, it's in place, now you get to live the life nobody else gets to live. And yes, you don't need to be a billionaire. You just need to get to where all of your bills, all of your lifestyle is paid for through other income other than working. Like I always say, the book by Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, it says freaking think. Don't sit there and work and grow rich. Think and grow rich. Okay? But you got to take action because it is just about that. So start thinking about this. Start taking some action. Leave me some comments. Tell me if you're taking action. Tell me where you're at. Tell me if you need something in order to start to take action. I'm not selling you a damn thing here. I got no book. I got no course. But I don't have to go to work in order to get paid. I got people paying me 4 or 5 times a month. So think about that. Let's get out there, right? Let's get after it, right? Think big, start now, and grow fast. Talk to you soon. V. Rigoni, Max, high performance real estate entrepreneur.